Hey folks, Force Captain Meph here. We have some really exciting things coming up for our Patreon members in the next few months. Like, I don't know, this Thursday? That's right, this Thursday, February 17th, that's 2/17, at 8 p.m., 9 Eastern. We're doing a live watch, y'all. That's right. You get to hang out with me and Jenny, watching an episode. What episode, might you ask? Why, roll with it, the epic battle of the Citadel. We're going to be having it on our Patreon-only Discord server. So if you want to join us, head over to our Patreon and sign up for our Friends of the Rebellion $5 level. But it's not all just live watches here. You're going to be getting mailbag episodes, early accesses to our playlists, live chats. We have so much lined up. So much more. So why don't you come on by to our Patreon and join us at patreon.com/HeyAdoraCast. Hey Rebellion, quick content warning here. This episode contains non-sexually explicit discussions of terms surrounding BDSM. You can check the show notes for the timestamp. Hey folks, and welcome to Hey Adora, your queer She-Ra podcast. I'm Force Captain Meph, they, them.
And I am Princess Jenny, she, her.
Today we are discussing Season 2, Episode 2, TiesThat Bind. TiesThat Bind is written by Laura Shreepney, storyboard by Karen Go, Diane Huh, Angela Kim, and Sam Szymanski, directed by Stephanie Stein and Dee Woolman.
Word.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Meth.
This episode is chock full of glitcher goodness, and I'm here for that ship.
Oh my gosh, this is a fun episode.
It's a super fun episode. It's got hyper protective Scorpia,
which we love to see.
It's got some good sweet baby Kyle.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's got some Swift wind.
It's got
narrated in song while he's doing stuff because he just loves to do everything that he's doing all the time.
I like Swiftwind, y'all.
I love Swiftwind. And, you know, we get to see more of who he is in this episode than we've seen thus far.
We do.
And we get some good parallel plots.
We do.
This is a basic side-by-side plot episode. We've got two groups of people getting up to some hijinks.
Yep. Wacky hijinks.
Let's just jump right in.
Let's do it. Let's
jump right in. So our opening shot is in drill.
Mm-hmm.
Occupied drill.
We got horde banners fucking everywhere.
Yes. And so later in the episode, Glimmer refers to the castle of drill by name. So I'm just going to refer to it by its name now. It's the Crypto Castle.
Okay.
That's the name of the castle in drill. Crypto means hidden or secret from the Greek word kryptos.
Nice.
Which makes sense because this is a hidden castle in many ways. Hard to find, and once you're there, hard to find your way out.
Also, it makes sense with the name Entrapta.
Yes, indeed.
So
all these things coming out.
All these things are wonderful.
So our opening shot, we see a big horde flag flying over the entrance to the Crypto Castle, and then the shot pans up, and we see Catra herself, who is standing majestically atop the castle entrance like a boss.
Yeah, that's a fucking power stance. That is
a full power stance.
That is a full power lesbian power stance.
Mm-hmm. She's got the wind majestically flowing through her hair.
She's got, she is the winningest of winning right now. She's winning the fuck out of this moment.
She's in her element. And then the POV flips and we're looking from over her shoulder behind her so we can see on the ground in the courtyard all those Horde tanks and Horde troops. So the Horde has 100% occupied drill, which, is mostly a formality since Entrapta is living with them now.
It feels good, right?
It feels good, absolutely.
Yeah, she's the boss of all she surveys.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
She's like Ozymandias. She's like cat lesbian Ozymandias.
I don't know who that is, but I'm sure you're right.
It's a poem by Percival Shelley. Mr. Percy Shelley, and it is written about Pharaoh Ramsey, right? And it's kind of a super famous poem. It has the line in here, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair."
Nice.
Right? So that's
absolutely, that is the poem that embodies the power stance. we're feeling it. We're all feeling it. Catra's feeling it. And even though some of us might not be warmongers in this moment, we might be feeling like, fuck yeah, Catra, you do you.
We are not warmongers here at Hayador. We take a pretty solid anti-war stance
we
here,
do.
But we also take a pretty solid pro-Catra, hey,
yeah, she's on her journey and she has to get there. Anyway,
yep, exactly.
Here she is now doing her thing, and then she says to her, she's got her little horde iPad. She says to whoever's on the other side of the horde pad, the city's forces have fled, drill is ours.
Yeah, I also have here horde FaceTime.
Yeah, and then it's another one of those great transitions that they do a lot, where someone's talking on a screen, and then you see them on the screen, and then you zoom out to see who is seeing them on the screen, and of course it's SCORPIA on the other end of the chat.
It's SCORPIA. I love this. SCORPIA walking through Entrapta's castle. And I just want to talk about the castle paintings again, because I noticed inconsistency.
Sure.
I love fucking Entrapta's castle. I love all of the paintings, because they're always wacky.
Wackadoo.
And so we probably pointed this out in the last one, but she has a painting of a unicorn flying T-Rex, right?
Is
so like
that
that's the thing
what
that
that
she
is?
has.
Because I looked that long and hard, and then I decided not to describe it because I couldn't describe it. It was like a pegicorn, but like with tiny fetal legs, little stumps.
Yeah, and like
a star on the eye.
Yeah. So
it's a very cool animal.
Yeah. So it's fucking cool, but did you notice as Scorpio was walking by that every time Scorpio walked by, even though it was a different painting before that, there are like 2 or 3 of them next to each other. So there's like an inconsistency where we see the unicorn flying T-Rex and then another painting of the unicorn flying T-Rex and then another painting of the unicorn like, in a row. And I'm like, wow, she must really like that painting.
No. I did not notice that. I will give you the gold star for noticing the inconsistent unicorn T-Rex paintings.
But you know what? I feel like it works in everybody's favor.
It always works in everyone's favor when Entrapta's castle is confusing.
Oh, yeah,
It works in our favor in this scene because it's sort of setting up something for later. Fact that SCORPIA is going to get a little confused herself, but we're not there yet. She's just walking right now, and she says the same thing to Catra that we just said. When Catra says, drill is ours, the forces have fled, SCORPIA says, all right. I mean, I guess it kind of already was ours since their princess is on our side and all, but the banners, they really make it feel official.
I know, I love that. She's so fucking positive in this episode.
And she always is.
I know, she's...
SCORPIA is our number one marshmallow. You know, she would be the best life coach.
She would.
Absolutely.
She would. I love SCORPIA as coach. I think that's my favorite, like, imagined archetype of SCORPIA.
Absolutely. Any kind of coach.
Any kind of coach. A volleyball coach. A life coach. Your astrologer.
Sure. Anyway... Sure. We have a tiny but important exchange here. Catra asks SCORPIA, where are you? SCORPIA says, that is a great question, and the answer is, I do not know.
I love that delivery.
Yes, because we know this castle is very labyrinthine. Catra rolls her eyes, and then you want to finish off what's happening here, Meph?
So this sets up Chekhov's comm badge.
That is exactly what I wrote! I wrote Chekhov's comm badge locator app. Yes.
Yep. It's like when you can't find your iPhone, so you have to like log in and press the "Where's my iPhone?" and it only tells you that it's in your house.
I mean, I don't have an iPhone, but I can imagine. Yes. So we have established here that Catra can tap her comm badge, and someone with a Horde iPad can then track it.
Duly noted. I don't know. Jenny, I think that may come into play later on.
Who knows? It might not be relevant past this moment. We just got to get SCORPIA out of this castle, man.
So let's get SCORPIA out of this castle, but before we do that, we have the theme song.
Yeah, and actually my last little note for that tiny scene is Catra is in her happy place of commanding an invading army and frisks off to start doing all the things.
She does. She like four-legged frisks off like a happy kitty.
She's just having the time of her life, and devoid of implications for what will the outcome be, we just love to see Catra happy.
We do really love to see Catra happy, and this episode also has some peak, like, Catra is acting like a cat moments. Like, sometimes we get more Catra act like a human, and I feel like later on in the series we get less cat moments and more like anthropomorphic people moments.
I was not thinking so much that she was acting like a cat in this episode. I was thinking more that she was acting like a brat.
Oh, we're
very similar word, but honestly, I didn't really think cat so much. I was thinking this is
my dear friend,
peak bratty bottom Catra.
Oh, my dear friend, you have no idea what I have for one of my Professor Smart Brain moments.
I'm sure you've got plenty in store for us. So anyway, then we get some credits.
I do.
Credits.
We're going to win in the end, or do we?
Probably, yes, we will.
Probably, we will.
In the training room, we got some holographic Whispering Woods situation. We've got thunking. What could be causing that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. What is it?
It's another giant horde bot trashing the forest. And I wrote, grunting She-Ra to the rescue.
Oh, my God. And I have this as one of my gayest
Absolutely. Moments. Was it the unnecessary sword twirling?
You know it was. You know it was fucking Adora's gay-ass sword twirls while she was fighting as She-Ra, and then afterwards when she was Adora.
Yeah. Because she, she's really getting her head around this now. She's getting some skills, and so of course she's getting kind of cocky.
Yeah, and she's definitely doing some cocky daddy Adora here, and we love to see it. Love to see it.
We dig it. And then when she does transform the weapon, I have a small installment of today's Weapons Corner.
Yay, Weapons Corner!
So today's Weapons Corner, the thing that her weapon transforms into is called a grappling gun.
Ooh, tell me more.
And where I started from, I'm always going to tell you where I started from to get to this real term, is
Great.
I Googled gun that shoots rope with hook. So I'll tell you.
I feel like this is also a lesson in search term analytics. Like, how do I get to this? Why? Ask Jenny.
Fair. And also, this gives you a window into how much of a pacifist I am and how little I know about weapons. Anyway, grappling guns are high-tech pistols that fire small grappling hooks on monofilament wire. Once the hook is secure, a button press will activate a powerful motorized pulley system that will allow the user to make a quick ascent to a higher point, such as a rooftop.
Oh, like Batman.
Exactly like Batman. You don't even know how right you are.
I'm very right.
When you say like Batman, because the next thing I found out about this is that it's not really a real thing. It's actually just from Batman.
Just a Batman thing.
Yeah, because when I Googled it and when I was trying to find a real version of one, I quickly found out that there aren't really real versions of this, aside from a few people have made homemade versions of it, and you can see it on YouTube, and they're all just like on Batman.
Oh my God.
A real life version of the thing from Batman.
A real life Batman tool.
Yeah. So there are a few YouTube videos and there's an article on Nerdist, but so it's not really a real thing. Okay. The closest real thing is a grappling hook on a rope, which is low tech, obviously. That was, grappling hooks were invented by the Romans in approximately 260 BCE. It was originally used in naval warfare to catch ship rigging so that it could be boarded.
Oh, cool.
Yes. But so the grappling gun first appeared in Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film.
I remember watching that as a kid and thinking that was the coolest thing. And then every time we played Batman, we would try to figure out some way to make that happen.
People have figured it out, but they're gas powered, I guess.
Oh.
And it's never going to have the power of the Batman version. And there were also some compressed air guns that I saw.
Yeah.
But the difference is that there's no button to press to turn it into a pulley to zip you up.
Right.
You can shoot the rope with the hook out of the gun, but then you still have to just climb the rope manually.
I'm thinking the physics around that is not particularly possible, but I could be wrong. I'm not a physicist. If you are, please write in. Let me know if this is possible.
It looks great in a cartoon, anyway.
It does look great in a cartoon.
She-Ra makes great use of her grappling gun.
Hooray!
And she does such a good job evading her enemy and, flipping on over it, that she walks away with her eyes closed as she does more unnecessary flair.
Love it.
Wicked gay.
Wicked fucking gay.
As the holographic forest turns back into the training room behind her.
Oh, I love it. And she, like, shoots out a, whew, I'm getting pretty good, huh? And, you know, Light Hope is like, you have shown improvement, but your attack would have been 57% more effective if you had support from your steed.
It is time to bring Swiftwind into your training.
And Adora's like, well, shouldn't I get better first?
And I don't understand why Adora is so unenthusiastic about this and has so much resistance.
Yeah, I kind of don't get it either. I feel like I might be reaching here. I feel like this is just more of Adora being like, I have to do it myself kind of mentality, but like...
I mean, definitely that's the only thing that makes sense, but we've seen from the beginning that she is a lesbian horse girl.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't she want her horse?
She has lost her entire mind every time she's gotten near a horse. Right. And this is her sacred soul bond horse.
Maybe she like...
that can talk and fly.
Maybe she just kind of doesn't like him that much.
No, I don't think that's it. I think they just needed her to have resistance for the sake of this plot.
Yeah.
And, you know, the best reasoning that I can give is that she still feels that she can't be a good team member until she can count on her skills 100,000%.
I see that.
I feel like that's the only justification I can give it.
No. I'll take that. I'll take that as the answer. That makes sense.
Okay. So while they're having this little exchange, Swiftwind's adorable head pops through Light Hope's holographic head.
I love
as he enthusiastically agrees that his presence is necessary.
I love this so much. Hi, Comrade Swifty. You're the best. We love you here at Hey Adora.
Yes. And I have his entrance as another gayest moment.
Oh, please explain.
Particularly the moment when he, after he says, I've been here a while, but there wasn't a good time for me to make my grand entrance until now.
Okay,
and then as he says at the end of that proclamation, he tosses his mane and it sparkles majestically.
Okay.
That's the gayest moment.
Yeah, I think a sparkling hair, majestic horse tossing.
Anytime a unicorn tosses its mane and it sparkles majestically, that's gay.
Yeah, I agree. That is incredibly gay.
Yes. And then Light Hope says the time has come for the two of you to forge your glitch. And then she turns into a cubist painting.
So what and I just wrote in all caps, just hit the side. Because that's what if something glitches out, it's like on all those old TV shows, right? They're just like, this doesn't work. I'm going to hit the TV. What could possibly go wrong?
Hope
but you can't do that with Light Hope.
Not solid.
Right.
She doesn't have any mass.
So you can't hit the side.
So there's nothing to hit. So time to go. So now we have the beginning of our parallel plots, because we have a hard cut there to Bow and Glimmer in the Bright Moon Castle. What do you mean Entrapped is alive? Okay, great. Let's go to Drill and rescue her. So that's basically, that's what's happening.
Basically
now.
What we have here. Yep. Kind of exposition.
They establish that they're going to go, just the two of them, because Glimmer doesn't want to bother Adora from her training, and she doesn't want to bring any of the other princesses, because that's how we got in this mess.
Yeah.
If we bring anyone else along, they might also get captured, and, she's already forgotten the whole Stronger Together lesson that was the whole summation of season 1.
Yeah, and the last episode.
So... And everything that's happened so far. But it just goes to show, again, that growth is not perfectly linear.
That's true.
It's not like we learn life lessons and then bank them, and it's like, okay, I know that now, and because I know that, my subconscious will never sabotage me again, right?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Now that I know that I gravitate towards people that are bad for me in this one specific way, I'm never going to fall for someone like that again, right? Because I know it now. If only it were that simple. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stop making that noise. But hey, you know what? We're all on our paths. And,
self-awareness is the first and most necessary step.
Absolutely, which they'll get to.
So they're on the way. Out they go to rescue Entrapta. Hard cut back to the Crystal Castle, unless you had more to say about that.
Just one quickie thing. When we have Glimmer saying we're going to the Crypto Castle, no princess left behind. Little callback to no princess left behind. That's all.
Yes.
Just a little callback. We're doing it. That's their motto.
Yep.
For the time being. So.
And now we hard cut back to the Crystal Castle. Mm-hmm. Lighthope is still frozen.
Swiftwind is convinced that he broke her.
Yes. Adora and Swifty are confused, is what I wrote.
They're not technical people, those two.
No.
Not really.
I mean, what are they supposed to do? It's not like they have a background in hologram maintenance.
That's true. They're both like...
Nothing in their lives. I mean, Swiftwind doesn't have a background in anything other than, eating hay and apples.
And
a little bit in toppling unjust hierarchies
now.
I
feel like Swiftwind became sentient and read marks, and that's pretty much all Swiftwind has done so far.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
The Lighthope's position on Etheria is unique, so no one has a background in her situation. So they're trying to help. They can't help. Until Adora pokes a finger through Lighthope's face and she unfreezes and she just keeps talking like nothing happened until she notices their freaked out body language. Because to her, no time passed. She just was talking and all of a sudden they look completely freaked out.
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
And then, we learn that Lighthope's operating system is self-aware enough to essentially just say the error message, right? She's like, my system is overloading. I may have to delay today's training so that I can rest.
Uh-oh.
So, we had a blue screen of Lighthope.
Yeah, so basically this is just exposition about the Watchtower.
Yep, it was destroyed by Mara when she lost control and attacked the planet. If you can repair that, my capabilities will improve. And then we're like, okay, Mara really went on a path of fucking destruction, huh?
And while Lighthope is explaining this, though, I wrote that Adora, in this moment, is looking at the schematics and deep in her hold my beer, I've got this face.
Yes.
Which is another gayest moment.
Another gayest moment, yeah.
Because even though she clearly has no background in this and no reason to have any confidence, she, in this moment, seems very confident. She's like, fix the Watchtower, got it, bye.
Let's do it.
Rather than what should I know? What is the Watchtower? Are there instructions? How do I fix it? What? Fix this thing you've never heard of before.
Yep.
Sure, no problem.
Why not? Let's
hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I got this. Cool. I've never replaced a tire. I could probably do this. Move over, ladies. Let me take care of it.
Yeah, so Lighthouse glitches out again. Good thing they didn't have any more questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye.
And then they back out Amy's delivery, and this is hilarious. Okay, so we're just gonna go, and fucking hilarious.
Yep.
And then we jump back to drill.
Occupied drill.
Let's refer to it. It's occupied drill.
I'm enjoying referring to it as occupied drill.
Same.
Because seeing the Horde banners flying over it gives it a very distinct character.
Agreed.
So here we are in occupied drill. There are Horde soldiers everywhere. And there's little Bow sneaking.
We get a little bit, as usual, this place is impossible to navigate. They can't,
Yes, in case we forgot. The crypto castle, built by Entrapta, is difficult to navigate. Even for her, though she won't admit it.
Right.
While Bow and Glimmer are, talking in their little hidden spot about what's their next move, Catra comes waltzing out from a nap, we think. Mm-hmm. She looks like she's coming out from a nap. She's so chill. She had a big fun day, and then she had to go rest for a while. Yeah. She's yawning and stretching and, scratching herself. That's the quintessential cartoon character who just woke up. Basically. Yeah. Her guard is down.
She literally scratches her ass. She's like, I have nothing to fear. I'm going to sit here and have, no one is looking at me while I do this thing of ass scratching, right? And so we have Catra scratching her ass, and then her phone goes off.
Her Horde iPad
goes off.
And of course, this very important misunderstanding has to happen. This is one of those tropes where there's people hiding who overhear something that makes them think that their friend is being tortured.
A classic trope, especially the torture part.
Yeah. But oh no, Entrapta's prototype bot is out of control, and Entrapta and Kyle both are not having a great time with it, but certainly neither one of them is being held against their will or tortured by the Horde.
No, definitely not. They're both there voluntarily.
They just got their hands full with that bot.
And that bot is having an existential crisis. And Jenny?
Yes.
This is my first Professor Smartbrain moment.
Awesome.
Hey kids, guess what we're going to learn about today?
Artificial existential crises?
Existentialism!
Awesome!
Yeah, we love existentialism here at Heodora. So, quickie overview, existentialism. So, Catra has it as the actual life of the individual is what constitutes what could be, quote, their true essence, instead of arbitrarily attributing essences others use to define them. Human beings, through their own consciousness, create their own values and determine a meaning to their life. So, our choices determine our meaning. As humans, our existence is the thing that determines our meanings.
But what determines our existence?
Haha. Yeah, I know.
Got to turn to Marx for that one.
We're going to turn to Marx for that one. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But for right now, we're just going to talk about the philosophical understandings of what gets us to the phrase existential crisis. We got some names here. Kierkegaard is considered to be the first existential philosopher, in which he proposed that each individual, not society or religion, is solely responsible for giving meaning to life and living it, quote, passionately and sincerely or authentically. We also have Heidegger. It's the 1927 Being in Time, which explicitly rejects Descartes' notion of a human being as a subjective spectator, but rather the both subject and object, the person, are inseparable. But what we're really talking about when we talk about existentialism, we're talking about French philosophers in the mid-40s and 50s, and it's associated with their works of Jean-Paul Sartre. My French sucks, I'm sorry. Simone de Beauvoir and Albert Camus are kind of the three really super big ones. Some fun texts for existentialism are Sartre's No Exit, which is a play about three people trapped in hell. It's where the phrase hell is other people comes from. Also, the main character, the one who knows everything, is a lesbian.
Wait, in No Exit?
Yeah.
I read that. I don't remember.
Yeah, she's lesbian.
Wow.
We have Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus, and this is one that was really fucking cool.
What about The Stranger? Wasn't that a big text?
The Stranger and The Myth of Sisyphus are two big ones by Camus. The Myth of Sisyphus is more of a philosophical essay about absurdism, which is a spin-off of existentialism, which I'm not going to get into. And The Stranger is a novel. Is it a novel or a novella? It's a novella. It's short. It's a novella about a French settler in Algeria who's kind of indifferent to all things, who ends up killing an Arab man in occupied Algiers. One that I really particularly wanted to bring up here that is probably more interesting to our community is Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex.
Yes.
Which is awesome. It is known to be kind of one of the major philosophical texts of 20th and I would argue 21st century feminism. This is really cool. So Simone de Beauvoir turns works on that the existential mantra of existence precedes essence into a feminist one, with the idea one is not born but becomes a woman. And this idea...
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So this idea first articulates what has come to be known as the sex-gender distinction. That is the distinction between biological sex and the social and historical construct of gender.
Right.
And it's
the idea that gender is a construct.
Exactly. So she fucking rules.
Yes.
So,
no doubt.
So these are all super great things that many of us, I highly recommend. Both Jenny and I have read all of these texts. Okay, so the existential crisis, which is also known as existential dread, is kind of a central moment for a thinker in existentialism. And it is the moments when individuals question whether or not their lives have meaning, purpose, or value, and they are negatively impacted by that contemplation. Now, how does this tie into both a robot and our pal wrong Hordak?
So I feel like the central point here is that you can't have an existential crisis without self-awareness. So we're implying that Entrapta's robots are so advanced that they're already getting to be self-aware.
And once you have that self-awareness, it can generally send you into a spiral. Because once you realize that you are not created for a purpose like Wrong Hordak or a robot, but instead have to define your own purpose by your actions and existence, that kind of goes against your programming, and it fucks you up.
Indeed. Or, even if you were created for a purpose, you don't have to choose to follow it.
Exactly. Because
you are a self-aware being. You're not a slave. You can do what you choose to do. Maybe you think that shooting up a forest is wrong and you'd rather choose to do something else with your robot powers.
Right. Like hug.
Or make nutritious foodstuffs for your Etherian friends.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Yes.
Who knows?
Exactly.
But until you get there, it might be very unmooring. We all know how unmooring and terrifying it is to not be sure what is your place in the world, what is the point. What am I here for? What should I do with my life? It's terrifying.
Which is why I read a bunch of existential shit, like, as a young teenager, and then again in my freshman year of college.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to have these feelings. It's natural and healthy and part of life.
Absolutely. So folks...
If you never have them, you're just a hamster running on a wheel.
And you know what? If you want to be a hamster running on a wheel, that is your self-determined choice, because existentialism does reject the idea of determinism and instead really embraces that whole free will thing.
Of course. So all your choices are your own free will.
All your choices are your own free will. That was my Professor Smart Brain moment on existentialism. Go read some of those books.
Awesome.
Thank you. Go read some of those.
That was juicy.
Thank you. I know from existentialism.
And nutritious.
Yeah, and absurdism, which is really fun too. And honestly, sometimes nihilistic, but doesn't have to be. But yeah, go read some books.
Anyway.
No Exit is one of my favorite plays. Go have fun reading about a lesbian who figures out existentialism in a philosophical play form.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That was wicked gay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that robot's freaking the fuck out because it has attained sentience, which, y'all...
No big deal.
No big deal. That's no big deal. Anyway.
So that's going to keep Entrapta busy for a while.
For a while, yeah, but...
But Glimmer overhears this.
Uh-huh.
And from her point of view, it sounds to her, and I understand why, it sounds to her like Entrapta is being tortured by the Horde.
Yup.
And Glimmer being Glimmer, she doesn't think, what's our plan? How are we going to do this? Maybe I should talk to my friend Bow.
Mm-hmm.
She just jumps headfirst into action.
Yep, fist-to-face sparkles.
Yep, fist-to-face sparkles, exactly. So she and Catra fight, and good times ensue.
This is a sick fight, by the way. This is a great action sequence. I mean, we have Glimmer. Glimmer goes all out when she fights, right? She doesn't hold back. She's not... I wouldn't say she's not an intelligent fighter because she knows how to fight, but she definitely comes in hard. Catra,
I would say she's not a strategic fighter.
She's not. She comes in hard. Catra is is based in strategy.
Yes, Catra is extremely strategic.
And agile. Whereas, Glimmer does have the advantage of being able to teleport, which does kind of add to some, perceived level of agility. But in terms of, when she's, boots on the ground fighting, she's really more of a power fighter. Which is why we kind of, when we see her, facing off with Scorpia, she's powerful enough to land some hits on this mountain of a woman. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So we didn't mention that Scorpia, of course, comes running to Catra's defense.
Yeah, because it's Scorpia. That's what she does.
Yeah, of course. Bow and Glimmer escape by teleportation, and then we have a short teleportation montage, which is similar to the one we had in episode 105, which is the last time we were in Drill with Glimmer and Adora, demonstrating that the castle is a giant maze, and Glimmer can't find her way out by teleportation. Teleport here. Teleport there. Teleport here. I don't know how to get out of this place.
Yep. So,
So eventually she does teleport them all out, including Catra, who is only with them because she stubbornly hung on to them, so she has no one but herself to blame.
That's true.
They did not actually kidnap her.
Yep. And as we've learned, blind teleporting is very, very bad, kids. Always know where you're going.
Yes.
Because
Nightcrawler has taught us that lesson enough. But
Glimmer needs to learn this lesson by teleporting out of the castle into midair.
And with an angry cat as a prisoner.
And then
hiss.
kind of passing out, but while doing it. So, and also so
whoopsie.
Catra is like clinging to Glimmer. Glimmer wakes up, kicks Catra in the face. Because Glimmer does not give any fucks about like whether or not Catra's going to survive this fall.
I mean, I don't think that she's worried that Catra's going to die because she got kicked in the face.
No, but she like kicks her like for all Glimmer knows.
I mean, they all fall to the ground.
For all we know, Glimmer can teleport again, right? So she just like straight up kicks Catra off of her.
I think that but Glimmer didn't teleport again. She let them all fall. So I feel like she must have had some awareness that the ground wasn't that far away.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Either way, Glimmer's like, get the fuck off of me in midair and kicks Catra in the face.
Yeah.
Right? And also we need to, we want to kind of bring this up. Catra got magicked. She's disoriented. We also all know that Catra and magic go together like a cat and water, which we also learn later. But I feel like every time Catra gets magicked, a little tiny bit of the, tiny bit of the trauma does kind of show up as part of the disorienting nature of it too.
I wasn't thinking about that, but that's a good point.
She was like, what did you just do to me? Which totally makes sense in terms of, oh wow, I've never been teleported before.
That's right.
But also like magic makes my skin crawl.
That's right. That's a total PTSD trigger for her.
So
that's right.
Throwing that out there.
That's right. That works.
These two kids, messy kids.
So we'll leave them to gather themselves for a moment while we switch back over to our other parallel plot line.
Before we leave, I just want to say that an important thing to notice here is before we jump to our other parallel plot line, Bow shoots an arrow and nets up Catra. So Catra is now captive.
Catra is their captive.
So
they did not kidnap her, but now she is their captive.
But now she is their captive. Correct.
You are right.
So now we go to the watchtower, or near the watchtower. We go to a lovely field where long grass and looks like wheat are growing or some shit.
Yeah. I thought it was wheat at first too, and then I was like, oh, it's golden grain. But then eventually at the very end, in the very, very last scene, when Adora goes back into Glimmer's room to tell them about her big adventure of the day, one of the things she says is that she healed this field.
Right.
So I think that was actually dead grass, and then she brought it back to life when she healed the watchtower.
Okay, cool. So it was like flowering grass. Like dead flowering
and
grass.
had all those little bits of...
Yeah.
I don't know if it was bits of pollen or bits of magic. All those little floating thingies in the air. little kernels of whatever.
Pollen is magic. It magically makes you feel like shit.
For some of us, unfortunately. Here they are. Yeah. And Swifty brings us into this scene with some lovely narration. Adora and Swift went on an adventure, fixing a thing that Mara broke when she went nuts.
Oh.
And Adora is just not a fan of Swiftwind's singing narration, unlike the rest of us.
It's really not working for her. I mean, I kind of understand the, I have serious things to do, please stop singing about it. Because people say that to me all the time.
So Adora is stressed out about the situation. Maybe it's occurring to her now that she doesn't have any idea how to fix an ancient piece of broken First One's tech that she has no instructions for.
Yeah, I mean, she just has to whack it on the side and I'm sure it'll fix.
Right,
yeah.
And her buddy here is just, singing and flying around like he doesn't have a care in the world.
Exactly, and she's like, she's pretty much like, why aren't you taking this seriously? And he's, and she's... Well, we'll realize later that, Swiftwind just has a different way of doing things. And
exactly.
You know what? Both are effective.
And actually, a little bit later on, I'm going to get into a really cool character aspect of Swiftwind that we really get to see in this plot line that has to do with how he approaches life and how he approaches this issue with his carefree, happy way of being.
I love this.
So we'll get to it a little bit later.
Yeah, but first we have Adora being like, nothing's here.
And Swifty says, no, it definitely is here, and he can totally sense it.
Yeah.
Something ancient and magical.
And I love that Swiftwind is a magical commie because I also relate to this.
Yeah, and he doesn't necessarily know exactly how he knows things, but he knows that he knows them.
The epistemology of Swiftwind.
Yes, he's not sure where exactly it is, but perhaps, he says, if we were to combine our efforts, my intuitive powers might increase.
Ooh, I love this. But
Adora is not ready to mind meld with her sacred steed. What's your damage, Adora?
I know, right? Listen, this is a pegicorn that talks and is a magical communist. This
your personal sacred steed.
Also, you're a horse lesbian.
Do you remember how much you lost your ever-loving mind when you first saw him?
Also,
the sky turned pink and bubbly. That's how much you lost your mind when you just saw him.
He's fucking has a rainbow mane. Get it together, Adora.
Actually, I think his wings are rainbow. His mane is just pink.
You're right. Okay, but still.
Either way.
But still, Jenny.
Get it together, Adora.
And, we are a pro Swiftwind podcast, obviously.
Swifty is not insulted or hurt with Adora's constant low-level rejection throughout this episode. He can tell she's upset, even though she won't talk about it. Mm-hmm. As your magnificent steed, I am attuned to your emotions. Adora just wants him to stay out of her head. He says, I'm not in your head. You're just very bad at hiding your feelings.
Yeah. So we establish here that, Swiftwind is pretty emotionally intelligent. He's a pretty emotionally intelligent, magical communist pegicorn.
Very emotionally intelligent.
So, and Jenny, are you going to go through this next part? Because
yeah. Unless you want to.
No, I want you. This is something I want to hear you talk about.
So Swiftwind, wants to help Adora, work out what's bothering her. Mm-hmm. He says, he knows something's bothering her. And there's this great visual sequence when Swiftwind starts listing possible people or things that she could be worried or upset about. Mm-hmm. And as he's listing them, we see each one of them as a horse head version of themselves.
Incredible.
So there's Bow Horse, Glimmer Horse, Catra Horse, Horde Horse, which is Shadow Weaver. And then the last thing that can't be represented as a horse head is the crushing weight of your new responsibilities as the savior of Etheria.
Which, I love that. I wish that they would be able to, represent that as a horse head.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that can't be represented as a horse head, but each of those horse heads was just wonderful. But Adora denies that she's upset about any of these things.
She's fine.
She's fine.
Everything's fine.
She just needs to think.
Yep.
And Swifty just needs to do some loop-de-loops.
Which, yeah, dude, do it.
Which ends up being helpful because, oh, hey, look, there's first one writing on the underside of all those mysterious floating stone fragments. Interesting.
Gee, Swiftwind.
Interesting how you found that thing with the help of loop-de-loops.
Yeah, your playfulness finds its first clue, Swiftwind.
Indeed. And then we go back to the forest.
Back to the forest. So now we have Catra tied up in vines.
Meth, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does Captive Catra seem upset, stressed out, worried about her fate to you?
Not at all.
You think?
Yeah, not at all.
How would you characterize her in this scene, in this moment?
In this moment, I would characterize Catra, kind of chill, really bratty, really trying to more emotionally elicit a response from the people that tied her up.
Yeah, I would say extremely chill. Just in this opening shot, she looks like she's on vacation. Yeah. She's sitting cross-legged on a rock, chewing and spitting something that could be pumpkin seeds, chewing tobacco, who knows?
Grooming herself. Also, so they found vines to tie her up with because the net wasn't enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it, but whatever. They took a hostage. They're supposed to be good guys. This is Bow having a moral crisis here.
And I'm a little confused about this, too, because they didn't have any moral quandaries over taking Adora hostage in the first episode when they thought she was a horde spy.
Yeah,
But, it's as long as you treat your prisoners well, this is war.
Right.
Prisoners of war are a real thing.
Right.
But one of the big points of their plotline in this episode is to say that, we're the good guys and we have to hold ourselves to moral standards even if the bad guys won't.
Right, exactly.
So they're really, really going overboard to display this point.
Yeah, and they're definitely doing it in we have Bow and Glimmer doing it in a dialogue. This is a philosophical dialogue, right?
Yes.
We have Bow taking the extreme, we have to be the good guys, and Glimmer being fuck that. There's no gray between these two.
Yeah,
and the conversation between them, it's like a philosophical dialogue. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Catra, of course, lets them continue to think Entrapta is a Horde prisoner because that's leverage for her. And, I mean, even if it wasn't leverage for her, I think it's just amusing for her. And Catra is having a grand old time. She goes into full bratty bottom mode.
Oh.
Whoops! Guess I can't walk.
Oops, flump.
And then I wrote, whoops, that was really gay.
Well, I have that too. I have bratty bottom Catra as my gayest moment.
Nice.
And oops, I can't walk unless you want to untie me. And this is when I go into my second Professor Smart Brain moment.
Nice.
So, content warning, we are going to be talking frankly, but not explicitly, about sexuality.
Okay.
So, we're going to talk about BDSM.
Okay.
BDSM is often erotic practices, but doesn't have to be erotic, we can get there in a moment, of role-playing involving bondage, discipline, dominance and submission, and sadomasochism, and other related interpersonal dynamics. So, what are bondage, discipline, domination and submission, and sadism and masochism? So, here's an interesting thing. The term BDSM was first recorded in 1991 as like a composite term. So everything like around it was just like kinky or like bondage or whatever.
That's quite late in the game.
I know. That's what I thought too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Because it's been around since like...
so long.
Forever.
Since forever.
Since forever. I mean...
Since the first person picked up a whip and said, you like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, so this is awesome. I want to point out a couple of things like historically about this because I found this fucking fascinating. So yeah, it's been around since forever because people have been getting their sensual, sexual, and erotic pleasures from many things since humans have existed, right? And this is fun. So one of the oldest graphical proofs of sadomasochistic activity is found in the Etruscan tomb of the Whipping, which dates from the 5th century BC. Inside of the tomb, there is a fresco which portrays two men who flagellate a woman with a cane and a hand during an erotic situation. So there's like kinky paintings on a tomb from like an Etruscan tomb, like a pre-Roman civilization. The Etruscans were a pre-Roman civilization on the Italian peninsula. Kinky MMF spanking threesome.
I wish I knew for sure that was consensual.
Well, I mean, there are other instances, and I can certainly send to you like the what I found here.
No, I believe you.
But there are other instances. I mean, Petronius' Satyricon, which is an ancient writing, there is a delinquent that is whipped for sexual arousal. The Kama Sutra describes 4 different kinds of hitting during lovemaking, which is...
Yes, I mean, Kama Sutra is one of the most definitive authorities. Obviously.
Yeah, Kama Sutra was written in ancient India as a definitive, it was essentially a text of different sexual activities and positions. It's like the practice of sex, essentially. It's like a sex manual.
But, very comprehensive.
Incredibly comprehensive. So it has that. One of the most fucking important things, and I am just going to say this, is, just as Jenny alluded to, the idea of informed consent.
Yes.
With informed consent is when all parties involved know exactly what's gonna fucking happen and say yes enthusiastically.
Fuck yeah. We dig it.
Yeah. We only and only then is this okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, just given like a high level, but right now we're going to focus on the BD and possibly the DS part of BDSM, which is bondage. So we're going to talk about bondage for a second. We're going to kind of do a high level here. So bondage is the practice of consensual, once again, we got the consensuality thing here, tying, binding, or restraining a partner for erotic, aesthetic, or somatosensory stimulation, which is essentially just stimulating, like, touch.
Yeah. Somatic means embodied in the body.
Yeah.
So somatosensory just means, for physical sensory pleasure, which is not necessarily sexual.
Exactly.
It can be any type of physical pleasure. Sensory pleasure is a type of physical pleasure.
Exactly. And a lot of it also comes from, a lot of the pleasure in bondage also comes from the psychological interplay.
Right.
Just a quick thing, a lot of famous forms of rope bondage, it's called kimbaku, or in the West it's known as shibari, which is Japanese rope bondage known for its aesthetic. Once again, if you are of the age and wish to look into these sorts of things, there are lots of really awesome queer-focused, sex-positive, body-positive resources out there for you to look into. It's not all, creepy stuff. Kink, which is an overarching term that includes BDSM as well as other aspects of power, fantasy, and fetish play, has been an intrinsic part of the queer community for as long as we've had communities.
Of course.
And there are some really excellent resources out there if this is something that you're interested, that will depict this for you in a really positive, queer way.
Catra's definitely interested.
And Catra's definitely interested. Because there's a whole, 50 Shades of Grey and all that stuff kind of mainstreamed it, but that's very heterosexual, and it's very deeply problematic in its execution of it. It does not come from somebody who has had experiences or is part of a supporting community. So
very, very well put.
So that's kind of the super high level on that. Why are we talking about this other than the fact that we're old perverts? So
I thought it was because Catra was getting so much obvious pleasure from being tied up and using that, even though they think they have the upper hand because they tied her up, she's making it into her upper hand.
Absolutely. So throughout the episode, Catra is bound with various ties, including a full body tie, and how she's bound most of the time, her wrist binding is called a double column tie with a lark's head knot. And she is...
Ooh.
I looked it up.
Fancy.
Yeah. So, as Jenny said, she looks like she's having a great time, though she's arguing about it. And that is considered to be a bratty bottom or a sub. In this case, the person being tied up, which is the bottom, is acting out in order to evoke an emotional reaction from the top or the dom. And something about power dynamics that is understood in a lot of different types of communications and conversations about BDSM is that even though the person that is tied up or restrained, or the bottom or the submissive, seems to not be the person in power, a lot of the times that person is the one that is holding the power. It's about the conversation of power dynamic, which is what's happening here.
That is also a great callback to Foucault, just a way to process and understand the idea of power as a verb, power as an action, something to be enacted rather than held.
Yes. Yes.
It's not an object. It's an action. It's something that you play out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Foucault was also studied and was a member of gay male BDSM communities.
Naturally.
So also... Hell yeah, if you are playing the Heodora drinking game right now with soda or, adult beverages, you take a drink because Jenny brought up Foucault again.
I think you should be able to take a drink anytime either one of us brings up a cultural theorist by name.
I know.
In which case, you've had a lot of drinks at this point.
You've had a lot of drinks at this point. A double shot if they're French, which in this episode...
Yeah, wow, you've had a lot of soda by now, friends, haven't you?
Also, I just want to point out that the name of this episode is TiesThat Bind.
Oh my gosh. True.
So that was my Professor Smart Brain.
Thank you for that one. Yeah. Way to tie it all together.
Anyway.
Nice.
So Catra's being a bratty bottom.
And we're going to leave them with that situation.
I
don't know if Bow and Glimmer can handle it.
Well, we do have one kind of actual plot point here, which is Bow and Glimmer try to do an aside. Bow mentions that Glimmer is running out of power.
Right. Glimmer is frustrated because Catra has just declared that she's not going to be walking back to Bright Moon.
Yeah.
So Glimmer's like, fine, I'll just teleport us all back. And then, of course, they have their little side conversation where Bow reminds her of something that we all know. Glimmer can't just teleport them all the way back to Bright Moon because they're far.
Yep.
So they're going to have to deal with it in some other way.
And you can't really have, quiet asides when you have when you're captive, have super cat-like hearing. So we have this great fourth wall breaking moment where Catra kind of looks at the screen and does an eyebrow waggle, which is
and that smirk.
And the gay smirk, which is also a gayest moment. That is an incredible gay smirk.
Very satisfying gay smirk.
Really fucking satisfying gay smirk.
She's having the time of her life.
She's having a great time.
It's like she's on vacation.
She is. Well, I mean, she's being tied up She gets to be a brat. She's having a great fucking time here.
Yep. She gets to drive these people crazy, which is one of her favorite things to do.
Yep. And yeah, she's having a great fucking time here because she knows that she has the upper hand in this situation.
Exactly. As you have explained, sometimes the bratty bottom can have the upper hand.
It's true. So now I think we can go all along the watchtower.
We can go ha 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 ha. Thanks, Hendrix.
You got it.
All along the watchtower. So now finally Adora is riding Swiftwind, having a little bit more fun. Yeah. Together, they see a First One's glyph on the bottom of one of the big floating stones. And Swiftwind says, wow, Mara really did a number on this place. And Adora, in full hold my beer, cocky gay mode, says, so let's put it back together for the honor of Grayskull. But we know that she's not going to be successful yet because it's not we don't see the full transformation. It's a short one.
Yeah, I had that
so
too.
We know that nothing's going to happen yet, and also because the episode is less than halfway over. So we know that this is not going to be a whole thing. But, she's got to try. She just touches the sword to the stone and waits for something to happen.
Yep, and I have this is also one of my gayest moments where Adora tries to fix something with her big gay sword.
Fuck yeah. And then we get just more of Swiftwind being happy to be on this journey. She-Ra and Swiftwind forging a sacred bond, fixing a magic tower with magical sword. God bless him.
I love him.
I
love him.
They're doing a thing.
They're doing a thing, and he's stoked about it.
And they're going to keep doing it until it's done.
Yep. And he's on board.
And that's it. And now we're back on the trail with Glimbo and Catra. Walking along a mountain path like you do.
Glimbo and Catra. Oh, I love it. So, we kind of have a mirror here of the first episode when Bow is trying to befriend and be kind to Catra, the same way that he was trying to befriend and be kind to Adora. Catra's not having any of this shit.
But Bow is always Bow.
Bow is always Bow.
He's always living up to his best self. She falls down. He says, hey, are you okay? Catra's offhand flippantly, like you care.
Yeah. Oh.
And Bow says, we do, actually. The rebellion treats its prisoners with compassion.
And also, this is like Catra being like, why is there kindness why is this stranger treating me kindly?
Yeah.
Why am I getting kindness? And it's like, oh, sweet baby Catra.
Yes. Also that.
So, so then she lashes out at them, right?
Well, and before she lashes out, she also manipulates the conversation to her advantage to find out, as if she didn't already know that Glimmer would do anything for Bow.
Yeah.
So she just pushes him off the mountain.
Yep.
And more hijinks ensue.
Well, before she does that, I just want to point out that she's like, everything's about the power of friendship. And then Bow mentions Adora. And then we see Catra, we see like a flash across Catra's face. And then we see her scoff. She's like, okay. And then Bow keeps trying to like be like, what was she like as a kid? Like really trying to...
Right, he's trying to use is the wrong word. He's trying to use their mutual affection for Adora as an entry point to connect to Catra.
Exactly. But you can't do that, man. That's
it does
not
work.
The way to do it with Catra.
Well, he's trying. He's like, but friendship.
Yeah, and Catra's
what
like...
about even you must have friends?
Yeah, Catra's like, wow, but, stop talking about my ex.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, what about your ex who broke your heart?
And she was like, yeah, what about my ex that broke my heart? Guess what she's going to do to you?
Yeah, you think she's not going to leave you behind too?
Yeah, she's going to break your heart too. And then we do the Catra thing.
And they're falling for quite a while, long enough to have a conversation as they're falling off the mountain.
And Glimmer is like power play Glimmer right now, pissed, crossing her arms, sitting there. I love this. She's crossing her arms and her legs like she's sitting, like scowling.
Right.
Her cape,
instead of falling through space.
Her cape is floating like behind her. It's hilarious. And she's like having an argument with Catra, who also is like, neither one of them is freaking out. They're both like, fuck you. Well, fuck you.
The only one who's concerned about the fact that they're falling off a mountain is Bow.
Yeah, and I love that Glimmer's like, how are you such a nightmare? Years of practice. I love that line.
Yep.
And also, these two are flirting so fucking much, and I ship the hell out of them.
Oh my god, it's not terrible.
No, it's really not.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
Certain kind of spark happens when people clash in a certain way.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
They just drive each other so crazy.
They drive each other so crazy. Oh, they
Why do you do that? They just get under each other's skin.
Love it. Love it. Also kind of feels like the fight of like the ex and the current girlfriend.
Yeah,
which is
fair.
like, you know, kind of.
I didn't think about that, but that's also fair. And we haven't even gotten to the part where Catra licks Glimmer's arm.
Oh my god, we haven't even got to so many, like...
Yeah, so first, you know, they're falling off the mountain, and, you know, Glimmer's threatening not to do anything about it. Just let Catra fall. And Bow says, please don't. She's attached to me.
Right.
Which, you know, fair point.
I mean, that makes sense to me, yeah.
Finally, Glimmer does, like, a tiny teleport, which seems like it didn't even really do anything, because they were going to fall into water, and they still fall into water.
Yep.
But maybe the teleport just breaks the fall a little bit.
Yep. So they do a tiny teleport. They fall into water. Glimmer's like, you don't like water, you know, not a fan of water, huh? They're both still in, like, total, like, contentious, like, fight mode.
Exactly. And then Catra's like, oh, I guess I'll just take you with me. I'm going to wrap my tied hands around your neck. And, you know, they're just continuing their little cat fight, if you will.
They would rather fight than
save their
own asses. And Bow was like,
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Bow's like, hey, we're about to go over a giant waterfall, so maybe stop fighting for 2 seconds.
And of course, we have the impending waterfall of drama, a classic trope.
Yes. So they finally end up on the shore, having barely just teleported out of a very precarious situation.
And Catra, of course, uses this opportunity to, you know, really kind of dig into them and be like, yeah, we're all in one piece. Can't say the same for Entrapta. And, like, really just, like, being like, yeah we fucked up Entrapta.
Yeah, also, wow, you're really bad at this.
Yeah. Oh, you sleepy after all that magic? And that, like...
everything she can do to rub salt in the wound.
Yeah, and also the, like, sleepy after all that magic is, like, fucking brat bottom, like, gayest moment shit for me.
She is having a great time.
A grand old time.
And then she licks Glimmer's arm to distract them from noticing her tapping her little Chekhov's comm badge.
Oh, shit! That did come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's when she sets it off to alert Scorpia and the other hordlings of her whereabouts.
Scorpia's freaking the fuck out, right?
And my last line for that scene is, Catra, you crafty little gay cat.
Aw, she is.
She is.
So we have Scorpia's freaking the fuck out, right? Like
back in occupied drill, yes. And it's also adorable watching Scorpia, you know, losing her mind because Catra is potentially in danger.
And this is more like this.
Well, what do you mean she's missed? What do you mean you haven't heard from her? Oh, what are we going to do? What do you mean? You know.
There's somebody who touches a hair in her head.
While Lonnie and Rogelio just watch and have zero lines.
Yep.
Do we call Hordak? Send out a search party? Put up posters? How are we going to find Catra?
Brilliance. Once again, more brilliance from Lauren Ash. Yes, is a fucking trip.
She's amazing. We adore her. And then while she's unraveling, her little horde iPad beeps.
Oh, that's convenient.
Convenient since Scorpia has just... Not Scorpia. Catra. Catra has just engaged her Chekhov's comm badge, and now her little homing beacon has been activated.
Yep.
And Scorpia's response to this, and you can tell she's fully in panic mode and hasn't had a chance to think anything through. Scorpia's response is to just pick up Lonnie under one arm and Rogelio under the other arm, both of whom have not said anything, and just run towards the comm signal with both of them under her arms like it's the end of days.
Yep. Yelling, you beautiful genius.
Yeah. We love you, Scorpia.
We love you, Scorpia.
Yeah. Meanwhile, by the Smashy Smash Watchtower.
Smashy Smash Watchtower, we have Swiftwind trying to be encouraging. First of all, no one ever can concentrate when someone says focus, concentrate. Yeah.
That's the last thing you need
right?
is when you're trying to concentrate is for someone to tell you to concentrate.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
But, you know, he's just trying to contribute.
He's just trying to give it a shot, yeah.
And, you know, even he's still not perturbed when she's sniping at him. He's like, all right, you know, I'm just saying everything's better with loop-de-loops.
Yep.
And so this is where I would like to take a minute to talk about the Tao of Swiftwind.
Yes! Love it!
I watched this episode a couple times, and there was something so familiar about Swiftwind's overall, I don't want to say personality, his character, something about just who he is, the unruffledness, the unruffled playfulness, and sort of like simple wisdom that he embodies that was teasing the corner of my mind, and it took me a couple of watches for me to remember what I was thinking of. And what I was thinking of was the Taoist concept of the uncarved block.
Oh, I love this.
Let me just preface this by saying that I am no expert on Eastern philosophy by any means, and if anyone has greater expertise than I, please feel free to let me know if I am wrong about anything, if I misspeak, I apologize in advance. But I did study Eastern philosophy somewhat in high school and college. And I actually first read Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu when I was 14 because my camp best friend gave me a copy.
I first read it when I was 12. I'm with you on this.
We're very advanced gays.
We both have read a lot about Taoism and existentialism, so I'm really excited about this.
Taoism particularly, and, Eastern philosophy in general, it can be hard to understand from a Western perspective. Sometimes things that seem simple, the Western mind wants to overanalyze it and make it more complicated. And especially, as a young person. So my dad, who knew that I loved Winnie the Pooh, went out and got me another book to help me understand Tao Te Ching that was called The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoffman.
Aww.
And it's very accessible. And I would recommend it to anyone who's struggling to understand Taoist concepts. And also read Winnie the Pooh first, because it's also awesome, and I think it really is a great touch point to these concepts. So the Tao of Swiftwind, and let's talk about the uncarved block. This is the concept that I think he really embodies. And so the Chinese word for the uncarved block is Pooh.
Okay.
But it's not a long Pooh like Winnie the Pooh. It's a shorter Pooh.
Okay.
But, I don't really speak Chinese. I'm just going off the explanation. It was written in the book, The Tao of Pooh. So for their character, the written character, Pooh, the typical Chinese dictionary will give a definition of natural, simple, plain, honest. Pooh is composed of two separate characters combined. The first, the radical or root meaning one, is that for tree or wood. The second, phonetic or sound-giving one, is the character for dense growth or thicket. So from tree in a thicket or wood not cut comes the meaning of things in their natural state, what is generally represented in English versions of Taoist writings as the uncarved block.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm going to read a quote from the book, The Tao of Pooh. From the state of the uncarved block comes the ability to enjoy the simple and the quiet, the natural and the plain. Along with that comes the ability to do things spontaneously and have them work, odd as that may appear to others at times. So I think that, if you think about Swiftwind while you think about this concept that I was just explaining, I think that he really does embody the concept of the uncarved block very well. He's not overanalyzing anything, but he's also not agonizing. He's just being what he is. And I wouldn't say he's overconfident, because in the same way that Adora, when she gets overconfident, he just knows that by being himself and doing what comes naturally to him, things will turn out the way they're meant to. And that kind of innate wisdom that is very simple and not overly intellectualized. And there's a joyfulness and a playfulness that you can very much see in Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
It's very much embodied by Swiftwind.
Yes.
And his joy for the loop-de-loops ends up being key eventually. And versus right now, it just seems like it's getting in the way of practicality. It does eventually end up being key to just trust in Swiftwind, even though you don't necessarily see where his thoughts are going.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And it is what it is, and it works.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, and that's a really good move into the concept of wu wei, which is, it's a concept that means effortless action. So that's exactly what it is.
Perfect.
There are a bunch of things in the Tao Te Ching about kind of the leading from behind, like laying back and leaning from behind, and the idea that, if you lean into the, like you said, the naturalness of it, the way will come through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's very characteristic of Swiftwind.
Yeah, I love this. I love it. Love it.
And, you know, it really speaks to how he contributes without having to have specific plans and without having to have specific expertise. You know, his knowledge and expertise is so embodied.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
He senses things and knows that they are true.
Yes, exactly. Because he purely exists within it.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
Yes.
He is purely existing within the will of the moment and having that come through as not imposing his will on the moment.
Yeah. I think that there is little to no ego in this concept.
Agreed. Yeah.
Very much.
Cool. I love that. Thank you. The Tao.
So that's the Tao of Swiftwind.
The Tao of Swiftwind.
And if you're interested in learning more about this, Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu is the seminal text on Taoism. Mm-hmm. And even though it's pronounced Tao, like D, it's spelled Tao, T-A-O.
Yep.
And I very much recommend the Tao of Pooh as a side reader that would be very helpful for making these concepts more accessible to Western lay people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super fucking accessible.
Anyway, so now we can mosey on back to Glimbo and bratty prisoner Catra.
Bratty prisoner Catra, being a power bottom.
Yeah. And so the image that is the opening image of this scene perfectly describes the scene. So we've got Glimmer in front, pulling on a heavy rope, which we assume is dragging Catra, who had just refused to walk. Mm-hmm. And Glimmer is just grinding her teeth and looking so mightily annoyed as she's pulling on this rope. And then we've got Bow in the background. Mm-hmm. He's got both hands on his head. And he's also gritting his teeth, but more in a way that's like, eek, oh no. Like, looking just totes overwhelmed. Mm-hmm, And they just both look like they're about to lose their entire shit.
Yep. And Catra's just like,
And then Catra's most important line is, I don't know about you guys, but I am beat. Getting held hostage is so much work.
Almost as exhausting as torturing Entrapta every day.
Yep.
Damn, Catra!
Yeah. Talk about cramming complex issues down into a very small box.
Damn.
And then that's all there is up until they run into Scorpia, Lyle. Wow. Scorpia, Lonnie, and Rogelio.
And, oh, wait.
No Kyle. Kyle's back with Entrapta being useless with her for a change, instead of being useless with these guys.
Catra is taunting Glimmer, saying that you're out of glitter. Glimmer's like, can you keep her mouth shut? Implying that they did indeed try to gag Catra.
Right.
Bow says, I tried, but she bites, and is covered in bites and scratches.
Which also calls into question, do you know how to gag someone?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be putting your arms near their mouth.
Yeah, no, I don't think Bow has.
I don't think they've ever had any practice doing that,
No.
because they're too nice. They're too nice to be going around gagging prisoners.
Exactly. And this is when we have like a really important Glimmer Catra moment where Glimmer is done. And she goes for she knows that Catra is a psychological fighter. So she goes with her own psychological low blow, where she says, how did Adora take years of this?
Right.
She didn't run away from the Horde. She ran away from you. And that fucks up Catra, because that's in Catra's, like, that's kind of one of the things that's like playing in the back of Catra's mind.
Right. That's what Catra believes.
Right. Yeah. She's like, well, she left me. She left me for you. Like,
exactly.
This is the idea.
Even though Adora said literally the opposite of that so many times.
It doesn't matter. This is what Catra has internalized, and Glimmer knows that.
Yep.
And so Glimmer goes in for the kill.
That's right.
And this fucks up Catra. This is the first time within this from, like, you know, Bow rattled Catra. This really...
Did he?
A little bit when he was just asking about Adora. He kind of rattled her a little bit, right?
Yeah, I feel like he pissed her off. I don't know if he rattled her.
But I mean...
Yes.
This, like...
No, this is the first thing that actually shakes Catra. Yes.
Yeah, this hits. And this is also kind of the ex and the current girlfriend fighting thing. It's like, oh yeah, where's she now? Off being She-Ra? Get used to it. You think she's not going to leave you two behind? Sparkles. And then, after we have this, like, really intense, like, emotional, like, back and forth between the two of them, then we have Scorpia show up.
But I'm not really sure how much gravity it is in reverse for Catra to say back to them, oh, you think she won't leave you too? Like, I'm not sure if they believe that or if that would have any impact on them.
No, they definitely don't. But this is Catra lashing out. This shows Catra's hurt.
Yeah.
Glimmer doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah. This is the only time we see Catra really have any impact on her in this episode.
Yep. And now we go back to Swiftwind and She-Ra.
Swiftwind and She-Ra doing a thing.
She was trying to impose her will upon the rocks.
Yes.
She's not getting that you just have to let it be.
Yeah, maybe I'll just tie all these pieces together and they'll be fixed.
Because that's,
Right? That's how fixing things works.
That's how fixing things works.
Swifty feels like maybe they just need to get into a better headspace. Why don't we just list all our favorite things until we feel better? I'll go first.
Sure.
Apples, hay, toppling unjust hierarchies, apples. Wait, I said that already.
I like those things too.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
So Swiftwind's help isn't helping, but that's probably just because your plan isn't working, Adora.
Yep. Yeah, it's not working.
No amount of help is going to help a failing plan.
Just fucking let Swiftwind help you.
So nothing is helping right now because Adora is ultimately still just trying to do it all by herself. She's not open to the idea that anyone could help her.
Right.
Because if Swiftwind can't, then who can? He's her sacred, magical, bonded steed.
Sacred, magical, bonded steed.
That's fucking right.
That's fucking right. I feel like it needed to be repeated for some reason.
I appreciate the emphasis.
I don't know why.
No, that was appropriate. I think that was appropriate. Sometimes things need to be repeated louder and slower to have their full emphasis taken in.
Really epically.
Yes. So they're still going to be struggling a little while longer, so let's go back to the standoff.
Man, there's a lot of cutting back and forth between these two parallel stories.
Lots of cutting back and forth.
So Scorpia is being protective. Scorpia, are you okay? Did they hurt you? I will crush them.
Yeah. She's ready
to destroy.
She's ready to start an apocalypse.
Yep.
On behalf of one misplaced hair on Catra's head.
The rebellion has their idea of, we will trade you Catra for Entrapta, because Glimmer does not know what the situation is with Entrapta.
Right. And Catra has a counter offer, release her now or they'll kill Entrapta.
And it's like, what?
Yeah, so it's a really good thing that Entrapta's prototype bot is still on the rampage, or else this ruse would not fly at all.
How long do you think this entire thing took? Like a half day?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible to tell how much time is passing while they're walking through the woods.
Yeah.
Because it always seems like they're traveling far distances, too far to teleport.
Yeah.
But how far could it really be? I have no idea, is the short answer.
Okay, but that...
I don't know.
Anyway, Kyle's been getting his ass kicked by this robot for hours, it seems.
Probably. Yeah. There's no limit to how long Kyle can get beat up by people or robots.
True.
Just as long as it takes.
As long as it takes to really drive the point home that Kyle is just not competent.
Yeah. But also, Entrapta is also not doing well right now.
No.
She's also, screaming at the robot, begging it to do what she wants it to do.
Yep.
But, it might sound over an audio link like she could be talking to a person, like a horde captor.
Right. When,
One would probably think that.
One could probably think that.
But one would be wrong. So now this is the new bargain that's on the table as far as Bow and Glimmer are concerned. Release Catra now or they're going to kill Entrapta.
Yep.
And Glimmer is pissed that they still have to play by the rules.
Yeah, and does not believe... She's bluffing.
She thinks Catra's bluff is that they won't really kill her, which actually is true.
It's true.
Not in the way that she thinks, but she is right.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bow says we can't take that chance.
Yep.
This is not how we operate.
This is not what we do.
We have a code.
Yeah, a strong moral code. No princess left behind.
That's what separates the good guys from the bad guys. We don't kill people. We live by a moral compass.
Right.
That's what separates us from them.
Right, exactly. And I love that Kyle's reaction is, I knew you would call me back. And when Catra's like, if you don't hear back from me in 30 seconds, take Entrapta out. And Kyle's like, wait, what?
No, poor Kyle. Huh? What the actual shit is happening right now?
Yep.
Poor Kyle. So, reluctantly, they let Catra go.
Yep.
And then Scorpia, upon receiving Catra into her arms, briefly loses the ability to form words.
Yeah, which, you know, it happens whenever Catra falls in anyone's arms.
Especially Scorpia.
Especially Scorpia. And Glimmer's pissed.
Of course. Then we get the big reveal. They were never holding Entrapped a prisoner. She's there of her own free will.
Mm-hmm.
What? And of course, Catra has to rehash the fact that, you know, her opinion, that is the thing that will always be plaguing Glimmer in the back of her mind, is that the reason they'll never win is because they have a moral code that they hold themselves to, and the Horde does not.
Yep, it's that quote from Spaceballs. Spaceballs is a Mel Brooks parody of Star Wars and Star Trek and all the sci-fi movies. And the lead antagonist, who's played by Rick Moranis, Dark Helmet, when they're fighting, says one of my favorite lines in a film, which is, evil...
I have no idea what line you're thinking of.
Evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
Oh, yes.
And it's just like, that's kind of like what Catra's saying here.
Yeah, that's very succinct.
So, you know, a villain would be like, I have no, you know, I have a different particular
moral
code.
I'll do anything. I'll do whatever it takes to win, and you won't. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, and, you know, one could argue that may not be entirely a villainous outlook on things, but for, you know, that's an ethical question for another time. In terms of the ethics...
That's a philosophical question.
Absolutely.
For the ages.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of the, you know, ethics of Etheria, it holds. So that's where the good guys and the bad guys, good and bad, good guys and bad guys, right, are different. So
ultimately, they let Catra go. Mm-hmm. This reveal happens. So they finally let Bow and Glimmer talk to Entrapped.
Yep.
So Bow ends up being the one to talk to her. Entrapped, are you on the Horde side now? And Entrapped says, I'm on the side of science!
Yes, which...
But I am living in the Fright Zone, and the Horde is supplying me with tools and materials for my work, so yes, I guess. So, you know, you can tell from that answer that she has never considered the question of whose side is she on.
Yes.
She's just doing science.
She's just doing science. Exactly.
Anywhere that she will be able to do it, she's just doing it.
And this is another kind of, I don't know, ethical question, which I kind of want to get into another time, but it is kind of an ethical question of, is Entrapped morally neutral because she's just on the side of science, or, you know, in a less neutral space because her understanding of just science is actually driving her, you know, putting her in positions where she's doing things like developing weapons for an imperialist conquering army.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to parse out, especially because of the fact that she is neurodivergent, and this is something that can be understood a lot more easily from that point of view, is that people who have a special skill just want to do their special skill, and the idea of abstract meaning is not necessarily something they associate with it. Like, what does it mean in a larger context that's more abstract than the concrete thing itself?
But I also do want to kind of point out really, really importantly that this does not mean that neurodivergent people do not have an ethical code.
No, of course not. That's why I'm saying this is one point of view to see it from that is not about ethics.
Right, and also...
At all. I am not saying that neurodivergent people don't have a ethical code or a moral compass. That's not what I was saying.
Absolutely not. And I knew that you weren't. I was just making sure that this was something that was very explicitly said, because I knew you weren't saying that. Yes.
I was trying to put it in a separate framework because I was saying the framework of ethics is limited. And there is another framework in which you can understand.
Absolutely.
This whole thing. In fact, I was gonna continue to talk about this question because this is something that comes up a lot, and there's some people who are very hard on Entrapped, and there's other people who go the other way and say that Entrapped deserves a lot more credit and shouldn't be judged at all because of the fact that, you know, she's not for or against anyone, but she is developing weapons, and that is the reality. Yep. Someone's going to use these weapons. But so I think it's very clear that she still considers herself friends
Yes.
with Bow and Glimmer and Adora, especially because of the fact that she then goes on to say, but don't worry about me. I love it here. I've made unbelievable progress in my research, and the Horde has been so supportive. I'm getting closer every day to unraveling the mysteries of Etheria. And the last line, hacking the Black Garnet, was just the first step. That's just a throwaway line for her.
Yeah.
She's, it's just a step in her research.
Yeah, exactly.
She has no idea the impact that it had on them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and in interpersonal relationships, she is, I completely agree. And I actually have that written down as well. She is charming, caring, kind, and empathetic. Like, your imperfections are beautiful. Like, is a lovely, wonderful, interpersonal observation that she says to someone that is, for all intents and purposes in the show, a villain. So, she
doesn't want them to be worried. She just found out that they were worried that she was in trouble, and she wants to reassure them that she's okay.
She's okay. She's just doing her science, but...
Yeah, she's just doing it somewhere else now.
Yeah, exactly.
It just so happens that there was an interview with Temple Grandin in the New York Times just a few days ago.
Oh, awesome.
If you want to look it up, the date is January 22nd. And the title of the article is Temple Grandin Wants Us to Think Differently About Kids Who Think Differently.
Excellent.
New York Times. For anyone who doesn't know who Temple Grandin is, she is a pretty famous scientist. And neurodivergent advocate, proponent. She is someone who is autistic and came of age at a time when autistic people didn't get the chance to go to school and were written off as brain damaged and were not even bothered being educated at all. And there's a great biopic film about her starring Claire Danes, if you want to watch it.
Oh, awesome.
She is a college professor, and she works in the meat industries to help farmers create more cruelty-free animal husbandry setups. Anyway, so in this article, she was asked a number of times about her views on vaccination. And even before COVID, one of the main arguments of the anti-vax splinter movement, which at the time used to be a splinter movement, was that people believe vaccines cause autism.
Right.
Even though it's been debunked many times with hard scientific data.
Right.
And so the interviewer asked her a number of times to speak to this, and she repeatedly, strenuously refused to comment on this issue. Even though she said, yes, I'm vaccinated, and if more vaccines come out, I will take them.
Sure.
But she refused to comment on the issue, and the interviewer kept coming back to it, and she kept refusing to comment. And then she also stated repeatedly that she has a no politics policy because it interferes with stuff she cares about. That's a direct quote from Temple Grandin. She just wants to do the work. The idea of politics, of what it means to different groups of people, is an abstraction. And she can't think in those abstract terms. She knows what's important to her, and she's going to do that work. And what it means to other people, she's not going to get into it.
Though she would not personally do anything, just like Entrapta, do anything that would harm. And indeed, we see this with Entrapta when something is framed to her, when Adora is with the portal, which we're going to talk about, in a while. Entrapta, this could hurt everybody. Yes. She's like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why I think we should not judge Entrapta too harshly. I don't think that she is ever on the Horde side.
No, she's
in that crude sense.
Yeah, and exactly. And this is why I love Entrapta.
Fuck yeah.
I fucking love Entrapta. She's the shit.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yes. And Temple Grandin's awesome too.
Temple Grandin is awesome.
Totally awesome.
I mean, she revolutionized what we know about autistic people.
Yeah.
She created weighted vests.
Yeah, I think I knew that.
Yeah, because it started out as a technique for cows. She had seen it on her aunt's farm before they put the cows into the chute where they're going to go eventually to the slaughterhouse. They put them in this giant press and they squeeze them a little and it helps them be calm. It's a parasympathetic nervous system response. And so when she was having a sensory-based panic attack, she got in the machine and said, close it on me. And it gave her a similar feeling. And she thought, I could invent a version of this for people. And she did.
That's awesome.
So she is the inventor of, the basis of all weighted products.
Yay.
For, people with sensory issues. And, I have 3 weighted blankets and I love them so much.
I love weighted blankets too.
So God bless Temple Grandin.
God bless Temple Grandin. Yeah, cool.
Anyway, should we get back to Adora and Swifty?
I think we should.
So Adora is now done
Done.
She's finally ready to admit that she has no idea what this watchtower is even supposed to do, let alone how she's supposed to fix it. They're in confessional mode now. She's lying on her back in this giant field. Swifty's lying down next to her. And so finally he asks her, if that's the case, why has she been doing all these things?
Right.
And so they finally get to have a heart-to-heart, and Adora finally opens up to her sacred bonded steed.
Yay!
And she lets him share her burdens.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, I need to learn how to control my powers so I don't hurt people.
Like Mara did.
Yeah, so...
She's really scared of repeating Mara's mistakes.
Yeah.
And Swifty apologizes for not taking the mission more seriously, and he says he's just excited to be her steed, which is so gay.
It's so gay.
Which, you know, we're all on board.
Yeah, no, we love Swifty.
And Adora's sorry that she got him into all this in the first place by magic mojoing him with her sword.
I know.
But Swifty is not sorry about that,
no,
and neither are we.
No, neither are we, you know, and he wouldn't trade his voice and wings for anything, which
That's
I
right.
also kind of see as Swiftland loves his class awakening. He wouldn't trade his ability to reason and think and his freedom for anything. He has his chance to change the world, and he's so happy to be doing it with Adora, and that's awesome.
And it's a really important moment for Adora also, because he frames it for her in the same way.
Yep.
And then he says, I would never go back. Would you?
Yeah.
And she says no. So this is the first time I feel it's really important that Adora has had the chance to actually have the choice to embrace her new identity, rather than just have it be something that was thrust upon her.
Yeah.
And to see it as a gift. You know, she feels responsible for thrusting this upon Swiftwind, and he's like, no, girl, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
You know, my eyes have been opened now, and I can leave the world a better place than I found it, and I can topple unjust hierarchies, and I would never go back.
I love it.
You know, would you?
I love it.
And so she gets to really think about it for a second. She's like, well, before I was part of the problem, and now I'm part of the solution.
Yes.
And would I change that? Fuck no.
Fuck no. And this is their bond.
So that's the turning point for her as a person, and for them to be able to move forward.
To move gaily
and form
forward.
a sacred bond. To move gaily forward. But first, we gotta go back to the woods. My first note is, oh my god, they're still fighting? Basta, children.
Basta, children.
It's just like, enough, we get it.
Like, okay, cool, y'all don't like each other. Got it.
Yeah, and, you know, we get a little funny ending. Glimmer manages to teleport Bow out of Catra's clutches just in time for Scorpia, who is about to sting Bow, to sting Catra instead.
And Scorpia freaks out, and we have the, cutaway,
the scream echoed from the distance.
Yep, and then the birds taking off, it's very filmic. It's a very filmic moment.
And it's very, final.
Yeah.
That's wrapping up the end of this plot line.
Yep. Yeah, we wrap it up with a bang.
Yeah, very short. And then we zip right back over to the watchtower so we can watch Adora and Swiftwind's sacred bond kick in.
Is this our sacred bond? They glow gaily. The power of friendship can do anything.
Very glowing gaily.
They find the epicenter together.
Yes. And Adora has another hold my beer kind of line.
Yep.
Shira destroyed this place. Now it's up to Shira to fix it for the honor of Grayskull. And she has a full transformation, so we know this time it's going to work out.
Yep.
And also we knew it was only a matter of time for the magically healing loop-de-loops to come into play.
So we have Chekhov's loop-to-loops as well.
Yeah, and also, you know, it's the uncarved block. It's Swiftwind just being Swiftwind was always going to be helpful.
Yep.
When it was in its proper context.
Yep.
Yay! So, Watchtower achieved.
Watchtower fixed. We do a quick cut to the Crystal Castle where Light Hope is, then I will be back to operate. Good. My sensors indicate they fixed it. And I love that.
Yeah. She finishes the sentence that she started at the beginning of the episode.
Yep. And so we have some more uncanny humor for us.
And then we have a quick cut over to Bright Moon, where we're in Glimmer's bedroom. Bow and Glimmer are lying on Glimmer's bed looking totally dejected.
Yep, and we have our ending tag of processing.
Yeah, so basically they exchange expositions.
Yep, exactly. Untrapped is alive and making weapons to wipe us out. Right, but Adora doesn't know that yet. She just walks in gaily and is like, hey guys, you never guessed what me and my sacred bond did with my horse.
Yeah.
You know.
We fixed a field and we fixed a watchtower and Lighthope's going to restore balance to the planet and oh, what happened to you?
And then we have the, oh Adora, we have a lot to catch you up on. Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, now we must share our plot lines with each other.
Oh no, we're tying them together so we can bind the episode up.
Oh, I see what you did. I see that.
Waggle, waggle, waggle. So, Jenny.
So, Meth.
What did we learn today?
Well, I learned that sometimes when you try too hard, you ruin the thing that you already knew implicitly. That's one thing.
Oh, I love that.
I also learned that consensual BDSM is way more fun than non-consensual BDSM.
Yes, I learned that today as well.
Yeah, I learned that right now.
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah, just
No.
right now.
Yeah, and we also learned that sometimes learning lessons one time is not enough.
Yeah.
Even if you know that the power of friendship is how you're going to win, you might need to learn that lesson a bunch more times before you actually internalize it.
I love that.
And that's okay. Stepping stones of life.
Stepping stones of life. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, folks, if you liked what you heard and you want to join us in our sacred bond, you can like and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at HeyAdoraCast, or you can email us all of our recommendations at heyadoracast@gmail.com. We have a Patreon, y'all.
Yeah, we do!
You can join us as a member of the Rebellion and get fantastic perks like bonus episodes, our own very private Facebook group and Discord server, exclusive playlists, Patreon-only video hangouts, and so friggin' much more. We have so many really exciting things planned for y'all. Y'all don't even know.
Yeah, we do.
You do not
We do.
even know. You can find the link to our Patreon, as well as the link to this week's Spotify playlist, TiesThat Bind, in our show notes, or at heyadora.gay. That's right.
.gay!
And remember, queer joy is radical.
And queer love saves the universe!
Ow!
Ow, ow!
Sacred bond.
Jenny and Meth doing a little podcast, because we like to talk about gay stuff on the air.